What's up, Sassy Gamers, and welcome to Got Our Attention Podcast. This is episode 22, season 3. And I'm your host, Mike, and I'm along with Kelly and Brian. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
You guys are very excited. I'm like super excited, but you guys
I'm
are very
stoked.
not excited.
I got 7 hours of sleep last night.
That's fair. That's pretty good,
It's
actually.
amazing. It's dope. Yeah. For me, it's amazing. In parent, no parent, like it's awesome. I'm proud of myself.
Anything above 6 is usually pretty good.
Pat myself on the back there. Yeah.
4 to 5 is doable.
Yeah.
Like once every week, maybe, or something. But anything less than 4 is like not good.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Well, I also haven't gotten any sleep. Because if you're familiar with the Zelda franchise, the newest Legend of Zelda was released on May 12th. So Friday, May 12th.
Wait, what?
Yep.
There's a new Zelda game?
That's why you haven't heard from me. Yeah, so Tears of the Kingdom was released. Not too much surprise that I got it, because why not? Like, I'm a Zelda fan, right?
And I'm just shocked that you didn't get digital.
Yeah. Well, I wanted the physical copy. I want to be able to hold it, even though it doesn't come with anything. It literally is an empty book, just artwork and card.
I feel that way about books myself. I've never been able to embrace like the Kindle, so yeah. I can appreciate.
I mean, it's my favorite series, so because of that, I would buy it. Like other games, I'm not going to probably buy unless it's like a collector's edition or something like that. But like Zelda, I'm going to buy. Like that's just something that I do. But jumping into it,
I was impressed that I went to Best Buy this weekend and they had like 5 copies of it.
Oh wow!
Like I was legit impressed, considering it is like the fastest selling Zelda ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was. It's already number 3 as far as the franchise is concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
top grossing, number 3 top grossing. I think that actually may have surpassed itself already. Like, yeah.
So
yeah,
for those of you listening or watching, spoiler alert, because I'm going to be talking about Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm not obviously finished with it. I'm not a speedrunner. I'm not a maximum completionist, min-max everything as fast as I can. That's not me. I play at my own pace, and being that it's like an open world game, I tend to deviate from the story a lot on the main quest, just because I like to explore and just find things. So I want to go back to day 1, launch day. And so I played this game knowing that it's in the same realm of Breath of the Wild as far as the gameplay, like even the map that's there for Hyrule, and a bunch of other little things. I knew that was all the same. I knew that they were obviously adding in a new story, so there's new abilities, there's new, places on the map to check out. But I just didn't know how much. I was kind of one of those people, like, it seems like they're just like making the same game twice, just like almost like a cash grab. But like knowing Nintendo, I'm like, I can't believe that, because it's Nintendo. So starting off the game, I will say this is probably one of the less kid-friendly, less straightforward Zelda games that I've played.
Really?
It's very, I hate to say I know people are going to gatekeep me on this or whatever, but I'm going to say it's hard. It's actually a harder game to get the understanding at first. And it's not really anyone's fault, I guess you could say. But it's more of usually coming from being a Zelda player, playing through most of the series. It's like people always complain about. Like Nintendo's too, like, here, follow this line, and then when you get here, press this button. Well, they kind of like took that out of this game, which was kind of surprising, because when you have people like my wife, who's also a big fan, who usually likes to be more kind of guided until they kind of understand what's going on. But again, she hasn't even played this yet. Like I've been the only one that's been playing it so far, so we'll see what her reaction is when she plays it. But what I'm noticing is, at first, since you have new abilities, these abilities are not necessarily things that we've seen before or used to. I mean, I know Breath of the Wild had different abilities too that weren't necessarily part of Zelda games before. But the biggest thing with these abilities is it kind of, well, it doesn't kind of, it does change the whole aspect of the gameplay. So there's an ability that's called Ascend, and this is stuff that you can see in the trailer. I'm not going to talk about anything too crazy. But there's an ability called Ascend, and what it allows you to do, according to Nintendo, was that if there is a roof above you, you should be able to ascend through it until the top of whatever object you're looking at. That is a lie.
Oh.
Not everything that has a ceiling can you ascend through. So that was my first little small gripe, because I'm like, because I mean, I know that there's a certain point of how far you can almost break the game if you had that, you know?
Makes sense.
So most places, most things you do, you can probably use that ability. But like, if you're underground and you're trying to get out, like that doesn't really work. So I think there's like a limit to the threshold of how far away the ceiling has to be for you to be able to use the ability. But that wasn't really stated earlier. But whatever, small gripe. So that ability, the second ability, is your it's your hand. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's the multi-hand or something.
Ultra hand.
Ultra hand, yes. Ultra hand. Okay, anyway.
Ultra hand.
So what that ability is very similar to Breath of the Wild, where you're able to grab an object and then you can move it like through space. Like you can just flip it over or do whatever you want. So very similar to that.
Apparently, regardless of the mass or length or
Yes.
like size of the thing that you're trying to move, it's insane.
Yeah, you can.
Pe-
you can do
people
a
have
lot with it,
logs
stuff.
that they put end to end to end to end to end to end, and they literally have like a mile long thing of logs that they just lift up and go plunk. I want to go there.
Whoa, what?
Talking about game breaking. Yeah, they're like, hell with sailboats. I'm just gonna make a giant bridge right to the other side.
So that is true, and that is a way to kind of. Let me keep going.
Yeah.
And then the last ability that I have currently, because I know there's more spots that probably will do things eventually. But it's basically one of you start off with the game with like 3 abilities. And I say start off, I mean, after playing for about an hour or so, you'll have all 3 of these abilities. And the third one is the bigger one that they showed off within the trailer, which is the like turn back time. And you're able to.
No, yes, DMCA.
Exactly. So, like, whatever happens, you can always.
If you can sing that well, Kelly, that we get DMCA'd, you're in the wrong line of business. You could make so much more money.
I could totally sing the whole song right now and we'd be totally fine.
So, the turning back time ability is pretty neat, because what they show in the trailer is that they have pieces of like whatever the floating islands are falling to the ground, and you can click on it and reverse time, and then you can jump on that that rock, and it would shoot back into the sky until you get to wherever you're going.
A different type of ascend, as it were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ascent. Yeah. So, and the other one I forgot. The other ability is the fuse ability, which is the ability that you can take a weapon or take any item, any object that you find, and you can fuse it together with another object in the wild. So,
not just objects.
Well,
Koroks. You could take these little guys that say, please help me. And you can like fuse them to a log.
It's like a centipede. Oh, never mind.
No, it's like, it's pretty horrible if you go out and Google people abusing the Koroks.
Yeah, oh, that's wrong.
We had that discussion previously about people being mean to NPCs.
Yes.
Who knew that Nintendo was going to allow people to bring this to a whole new level? Like it's
fucking
Kelvin
wrong.
Is nothing compared to the stuff that's out there right now.
So I've seen people do like crucifixions of like
that's nothing.
They make a cross and they put it on there and they just drag them around.
I mean, I'm not religious, but like even that.
They attached one guy to the top of the mast of this like vehicle that went along. And then they attached each of the four corners. They have these like little dragon heads things that shoot out like this stream of fire.
Okay.
That shot straight up in the four corners. And then they had it on either side of like the cross member of the mast. And those were like facing opposite directions. So that started spinning this thing as it was driving along. As the little croc's going, yeah.
So this is like half Minecraft, half.
So
Zelda.
I'm not done.
I fully figured that he'll probably zoom in for that whole thing of me spinning that.
For sure.
So that fusibility allows you to tie anything to your weapon.
Okay.
So why that changes the game is if you have a weapon and you see a rock, you can attach the rock to the end of your weapon, and then now you have like a boulder smashing like.
Cheers.
So
sorry.
That goes exponentially. So anything that you hold in your hand, you can literally fuse another object to.
Okay.
And what he was saying is more of the ultra hand, where you can fuse objects together that aren't like your weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Because those
you
are two
can
different
fuse
abilities.
a minecart to your shield and then surf your shield, which you could surf your shield before, but now it's got wheels on the bottom of it.
Yeah. So those are the basic abilities that you're going to get in this game. Now, going back to playing the game, why I say it's the hardest. So what they don't do, or what they do like typically is, all right, now you have this ability. You press this button to activate that ability. Try it off here.
Okay.
You're like, all right, cool. So I attack this thing or send through. It's a small little like trial that you may do to learn the ability, but that's it. So introducing those things to a game. So I said there's one that you literally can go through the roof of the object that you're under, right? There's an ability to fuse objects together, right? So it could be whatever you push together. And then there's also the ability that you can turn back time. And then adding stuff to your weapon that can just be whatever.
Oh, Jesus.
So going into this game as an open world game, it made me have to think outside the box in the sense of what I'm typically used to, and in like a open world game, survival game, or just whatever kind of crafting game, because you're constantly, like even the Breath of the Wild, you had like a little cape that you could basically fly across and float across to wherever you're going from, like wherever mountain you jump off of or whatever. But this game is specifically designed to not allow you to just kind of use that only, because there's like sky islands, like these islands that you literally have to somehow figure out how to get back in the sky, whether it's through the turning back time on the rocks that fall out or other ways. I don't want to necessarily spoil everything.
So there are other ways.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they chose that, because like I felt when I started the game, I felt it was very empty. Like I was kind of like at a point going like, well, when did I start seeing things for people? Because it's very empty.
Very liminal, if you will. Brian?
Yeah, it was.
God.
It was very
Someone's
strange.
been doing her homework.
And so I basically, played through the story that it was telling me to do. And then finally, once I unlocked those abilities and started like kind of playing through it, it started making a little more sense. It's still very, very empty until you're able to get to the ground. Once you get to the ground, that map is the normal map where, things are happening. So it was just kind of odd to me, like the beginning of the game, they have a cutscene, they go through the story cutscene, things like that. But once you start playing through after the intro, it's just you. It's just Link running around, trying to do stuff, and like there's not much going on. Like it's really weird. So anyway, that was my first gripe when I was like first started playing. I was like, oh god, like, what's this about?
related to that is that there's several articles out there that people are spending too much time in the tutorial area, which is the Great Islands, before you get down to the ground. That people are spending a whole bunch of time there. They're like, oh, I can't like defeat this, construct or creature or whatever it is. Well, yeah, because like you haven't gone down to the ground and really like gotten your character and developed your character more. You're not supposed to beat everything in the island area. And people are like, "Oh, I'm so confused because it didn't point me out of there." And they're like 10 plus hours they're in this tutorial.
Just like Mike's
area.
saying, yeah.
So
and
I'm glad that you pointed that
it's-
out because I hadn't looked up anything on this game yet because I'm trying to play it through my
Yeah.
own eyes, right?
Don't worry, Mike. We have.
So yeah, so once I get past that, I get to the ground and then I start the story there trying to go through that. I mean, I will say I feel like this game I feel like Nintendo pushed this game too far for the platform it's on. Because it's
they absolutely did.
Yeah, it seems very low res on a lot of the game, and I'm playing
in low frame rate.
Yeah, so I'm getting. I don't know exactly because I don't have a frame rate counter on the Switch, but it's sticking to probably around 30, and then sometimes
it's sub 30. It's almost always sub 30.
I'm like just saying, from my experience from playing, I would say it's probably around 30, and then there are times where it definitely dips, based on how much stuff is in the environment or whatever.
Yeah, I'm saying based off of people actually getting the frame rates, it's almost constantly sub 30. A dude that has a specially overclocked Switch was able to get it to a solid 30 with an overclock switch.
Wow.
That it would still dip.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's they really pushing the platform with this one.
And I feel like almost like Breath of the Wild was what this game was supposed to be. But I feel like when they opened up the avenue with all the other stuff, the new abilities, I think they realized, oh God, there's so much more we'd have to go back and like dummy proof that we can't add that to the game. So I feel like they literally took Breath of the Wild, released it because they wanted to meet the deadline, and they had a solid game. The game was obviously really good. But they didn't want to add in these other features until later, until they fleshed everything out, hence building the new game. Because that is one of the things with this game. It's very, very much Breath of the Wild, but there's so much extra, I feel like, in this game that they obviously had to, like, there's no way they built this in 4 years or something, I guess since the last game came out. Maybe it's 4 years.
Well, I think it's like what you said is because, like you said, initially it felt like, oh, this is just kind of, you didn't say these exact words, but it was kind of this impression. This is kind of like DLC for the last game.
Yeah.
Right. But it isn't. It's like, they started from that base and they had that engine, and then they added all this crazy shit on top of it. And I mean, that's where they spent most of their 4 years. Because like once you're on the ground, it's essentially the same map as the original one. Now they're putting new stuff in it, sure.
Yeah. Look at Fortnite, but they have the same map and they just add.
Yeah, right. Things. Well, no, Fortnite map changes quite a bit.
Well, I'm saying season or whatever.
Quite a bit. Yeah, they'll melt entire area, but yeah, they spent a lot of their time creating all this new stuff to put into the Zelda game that, like you said, just like, oh wow, there's all these wacky, weird shit that I couldn't do before, and now I can. Like, so.
Yeah. So that's a thing that I feel like. Go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, I was going to say they announced a couple days ago, maybe today, that they're going to start playing. They're going to start creating the next one. And now after hearing this, I'm like, maybe you should fix some of the stuff in the game.
Well,
maybe don't.
It's not necessarily, and I mean, I'm not trying to be a Nintendo fanboy by any means. Like,
Zelda yes, you are. It is your only console. Blah 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 blah.
No. I say that because I mean, I grew up loving Zelda. I still love Zelda. I still love the new games, but I also just love open world survival games.
No,
so
that's true.
I'm looking at this game like, I mean, even Breath of the Wild to me is not really, to me, a true Zelda game. And I'm saying that not for you diehards out there that are going to tell me the NES version is an open world sandbox. Yes, I understand that. That was the original open world sandbox Zelda. I get that. But what I'm saying is, I feel like almost like how I feel about James Bond when, what's his name? The new James Bond guy, whatever his name is. The one that's done a few movies. Daniel Craig, yes. Very much how I feel about those movies of James Bond, where he's James Bond, but these movies are not really the way that James Bond would have done something. Like if you watch the old like Sean Connery James Bond, it's very much like words and being slick and being smart, not like action packed. I'm doing parkour at the beginning of the movie and running after it's I get it. He's an action hero, but it's not the same. So that's how I feel about these new Zeldas. It's a Zelda game, sure, but it's really not. It's more of an open world survival game, and just Link happens to be the protagonist, I guess you could say.
I saw a temperature like gauge.
Yeah, so there is a temperature gauge. Well, a temperature gauge was in Breath of the Wild as well, and they elaborate a lot of that. They elaborate on a lot of that from the first game. They build on a lot of that because the biggest things in this game are cooking. So cooking was in the first game where you mix a bunch of whatever you have together. Mixing together like edible stuff will make you food and things that'll help you do things. And then mixing in like bat parts or whatever, like mixing those together makes you elixirs where it could help.
I would say those could be considered food too. But I eat.
Careful, we don't need another pandemic. Okay.
So, I mean, has anybody had my bat appetizer? It's delicious.
Yeah. So that part is there's just so much to unpack.
Sorry.
Where was I even at? I don't even know.
I am so sorry I fucked you up. That was totally my fault.
So the cooking part. So the other part they added, now that you know how to do cooking, right? In the first game they taught you that. Now cooking is still there, but they're also adding in these other infrastructures that I'm not going to talk about just for spoiler purposes. But there's another thing that you basically treat like a cooking pot, and you take items, you drop them in there, and they give you things. So they've incorporated that across different parts of the game.
Literally a gacha game.
Not necessarily. There's not really. I mean, there's. I guess
maybe you're
RNG.
Talking about a different one than I am. The one where you put things into it, and if you put 5 in, literal capsules that contain items pop out.
Yeah,
it's a gacha game.
No, that yes. I mean, I'm sure they're doing that, but
okay. So we were talking about different things, is all. Okay, good.
Well, I was just saying RNG in the sense, but you're actually talking about physically like a gacha game where it's got it. Oh God, I'm just trying to
got him.
So some of the things that are interesting in this game is there's 3 maps. So there is a sky map with all the sky platforms. There's the regular map, which is Hyrule, and then there's the depths map, which is underground.
Oh, okay.
And it was very weird coming up to my first like chasm, and the guy's like standing there like, "Oh God, don't look down there. It's crazy." Blah blah blah. And all you see is a black hole, and it's like, you can't see how deep it is because it's just a pit of darkness.
I'm already, I'm already panicking about that for you. So
of course I am. So I just run and jump straight into the hole because
you're a dumbass.
And so I fly down, and I'm trying to time this by looking at what I can see, because like there's plants and stuff that you can see a little reflection on. Because what I'm trying to do is hit my glider before I hit the ground so I don't die. But you can kind of see where you're at. But when you hit the ground down there, the game almost turns into like No Man's Sky. It's very wild in the sense of you're in a deep part of this cave. There's all this like different fauna and like floral everywhere, and it's just like really different for like what I was expecting in a Zelda game. And there's some other stuff down there that can hurt you without getting into details. But what you need to do is there's parts of these like living tree roots that are down there, and you can see them kind of glowing. Not
Groot.
You can see them glowing from a distance. So when you get there, you basically hit the button, and what it does is it revives it, and then it gives light to that area. And don't get me wrong, this map is massive. This is by far the biggest Zelda game that I've seen.
Oh wow!
Like even looking at the regular Hyrule map, I was like, this seems way bigger. And even when you zoom in and it shows you like the items right next to you, and you're like, all right, cool. When you hit the map, when you're in the game and you look at where that's at, that's actually further than you would have thought. Like it's like, wow, it's not actually as close as it said. So then you times that by 3 because you have, well, not necessarily by 3 because the top world, obviously, Sky Islands are going to be more sporadic, whereas the ground is the ground, and then the depth I can't tell you because I've only explored a little bit of it. Um, but it's interesting because when you're down there, it's pitch black, and if you didn't come with anything that can produce light,
Oh
like you're
yeah.
basically walking around
In the dark.
pitch black, like in total darkness. And
Or you just build a hovercraft with a headlight on the front and fly around.
or if you don't have
And
those
not
things,
kidding, you can do that.
but when you don't have those things, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
So getting down there was interesting. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna try to get out of here now. Like, how do I get out? Right.
So-
Now there is fast travel. You can fast travel totally, but I'm like, I'm me. I want to walk everywhere. I don't want to
Yeah.
like fast travel unless I have to. Well, that's out the window because this has changed all that. But the first time I went down, I was able to climb up on the route and somehow kind of shimmy my way into ascending into another part until I finally came out on the surface. Which was what I tried to do again, and I couldn't do it. I was wandering for hours, just like darkness, and there's like this other stuff there, and it's pretty wild. Anyway, so fast forwarding until I played it for a
but
few
not the
hours
breath.
now. Huh?
But not the breath of the wild.
Not Breath of the Wild. Fast forwarding now to how I like kind of know how to play the game and understand what they're wanting me to do. The game is a lot more enjoyable. I mean, I'm definitely having a good time. Like it's,
Okay.
I'm not going to say it's 10 out of 10 yet. Like I haven't played it long
It's
enough to
early.
feel
It's
that.
early.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
early.
you know, gameplay like places like throw 10 out of 10 before it's even released. Like even before they've even got a copy, they're just going to put out 10. I get
Right.
that, but it's definitely good. But I can see how a lot of people are going to be frustrated, especially with the beginning. Like just understand, because why I say it's the heart of Zelda is the fact that now that you have those abilities, they're expecting you to understand how to use them throughout the world. There was a couple times.
Extrapolate.
There's a couple times that specifically stuck in my memory because there was a time where I'm climbing up a mountain or something to get to this location, and I'm basically it's a little counter, and it goes green all the way till it gets to red, and at the very top of the counter would be like, or the clock would be like when you run out. And I was climbing this wall and I was getting kind of close to getting red, and I was like, I'm not gonna make this. Like I'm literally not gonna make this. So at the very last second I dove, which you jump basically as high as you can, and I barely made it. And I was like, wow,
Wow.
that was lucky, you know? But then it happened again. And I had to jump again, and I barely made it. And I was like, they've introduced this into the game because this was part of a mission. I had to go to this spot to do something. So I'm like, typically the anxiety from playing when you see that, I'm like,
Yes.
I can't make
I'm
it.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. And usually you would drop off or, you know, just keep climbing and not jump because the jumping takes out more stamina and everything. Like, so I'm like, I can see how that can even deter people from playing because they're going to feel like this is just too hard. Like,
Yeah.
it does seem a lot more challenging than in the past.
Well,
You're on mute, bro.
I mean,
oh, there you are. You're good.
I mean, there were definitely some Zeldas in the past that were unreasonably hard, where like there were hidden doors that like you were lucky if you ever found them.
Yeah, I mean that is true.
This is more of like hearkening back to the days where the game didn't hold your hand all the time.
Yeah.
And there are absolutely plenty of people out there that either never experienced that or did experience that, but then got used to how games are now and would be kind of taken aback by seeing something like that now.
So the other thing that is a big part of this game is the ability we're talking about fusing things together. The Ultra Hand, not the fuse, don't get it mixed up, but using the Ultra Hand to build things. So as Brian was saying earlier, like putting a bunch of sticks together, like sure you can do that, make it like a bridge essentially. I've actually done that.
Yeah.
But you can also build these crafts. Like so, you have this ancient technology that you discover, and you end up getting some of these pieces that you can like use. But then you'll have like these places that they're trying to rebuild Hyrule. So they're like, here's a free house, just build it. There's all this wood and stuff here by this little plot. Like it's there for that. But of course, that's for you to build and do whatever you want with. But I, it is interesting because it's very much one of those. God, I can't think of the game, but there's a couple of games out there where you're like building your crafts and like your cars to race them and stuff, and like you can build them all however you want to. It's all physics based. So like if you put the tire up too
Talking
high,
about Ratchet and Clank?
not Ratchet and Clank. There was another game specifically like car racing for like Minecraft blocks. Like it was
This craft?
No.
No. Not this. Okay, no, I'm sorry. Wrong craft.
So if you're not a fan of those games or not used to playing those games or physics-based games, it's going to be challenging because that's something that you're not used to thinking about. Like, oh, I need to put a wheel on this thing. I put 4 wheels, and then okay, now what? Well, and then I have to put some kind of propulsion system or something to make it move. How do I do that? Like, there's a lot of parts of that I could see a lot of people getting frustrated over. And
You say
luckily,
that.
I've played those games.
With the expectation that this is going to be a normal Zelda game, and this is how I go. I can totally. But
normal Zelda.
Well,
game.
I shouldn't have said
these
that.
are the people that came out with like the mask of what? Menorah?
Yeah, Majora's
Mask.
Yeah.
And then the Ocarina of Time. What's normal
That's
about
true.
a Zelda game?
It is
a game where you play a tune and it rewinds the game from the beginning and you keep playing the same day over and over again. A game that there's this giant moon with this scary ass face that keeps coming closer and closer. Like, what's normal about a Zelda game?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
That's true. No,
they're definitely different because I mean it's funny because we talk about Hideo Kojima with Metal Gear Solid and how like crazy some of that stuff got, and while that did, Zelda has been very weird from the beginning. There's always like, these weird characters, or like you said, like the big moon, the actual like it's just all of that. It's interesting.
But the nice thing about the physics in the building though is that if you find the pieces, you're kind of okay because already this has been out for what? A week?
Days?
Actually,
days. Yeah.
At the time of recording, it's out for a few days.
Yeah.
Already, ZeldaBuilds.gg.
What? No way.
Zelda Builds. Okay, so there's a couple of things that Mike didn't talk about because he might not be there yet. You can put stuff together and build things. But the cool thing is if you build something really cool, the game will actually give you a way to blueprint it.
Oh wow.
So that if you have the parts, you can just go, here's my blueprint, build it, and it just builds it exactly like you built it before.
How? Already? God.
Already, ZeldaBuilds.gg is taking people's coolest contraptions and showing you how to build them. So now don't get me wrong. This is something I don't expect Mike to touch for quite some time because he's gonna have fun with the survivalist thing. And like he said, he's going to like learn and build and stuff like that. And which is very good. That's a very fun way to do it. Absolutely. For those that we were talking about that might get the frustration because they're not used to the physics and not like that. Hey, at least they have this that is available.
Resource. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean it's an interesting game, I'll say.
It's an interesting game, he says. Let me tell you, how many games do you got where you can like just fuse these parts together, right? And you can figure out a way. Did you ever see, what was it? It was, it might have been the second or the third Transformers or something like that. And they had the guys that were in the desert and then they got attacked by some Transformers and they didn't know what it was. And they had the bomber that circled around the area and it had the minigun and just tore up the area.
Mm-hmm.
That you remember that concept?
Was that the one with Josh Duhamel in it?
No idea.
I don't remember. It was one of the early ones, though.
Transformers. That was it. That was the only one I've seen.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
But how many games actually let you do that in game? That you create this device that pops up in the air. There's a 3-headed dragon reoccurring boss, and it's just nuking it as this guy sits there and defends himself from the dragon, occasionally breathing fire on him.
All right, can you turn this off? I don't want to see any of this.
Close your eyes, Mike. The rest of us do want to see this.
Mike's going.
He basically defeats this massive boss in under a minute's time.
Wow.
And this thing is set through the various objects that he have found so that it automatically targets the boss, and it's flying. He'll look up in a second here after the boss is defeated. It's still flying in the air. He just created this thing and launched it off. There you go. He's going to look up now.
Perfect.
Oh, right about now. There we go. It's just up there. It's just flying around.
Hey, you know what?
Just
very handy.
Like, how many games allow you to build that? Somebody came up with that concept. It's amazing.
What this game reminds me a lot of, which is awesome, is the beginning of when we started playing Valheim.
Okay.
Because the building is very just kind of wild. Like, you can kind of build like at any angle. Like, it's not completely free like Valheim, but it does snap to certain spots, but it doesn't necessarily, like, if you're trying to put something center on the back of like a flat object, you can totally put it on top or the bottom or even like catty corner. And then like you try to put two things on the back, like one's like this, like it's so with that you kind of get some funky, builds,
alignment,
and also some funky outcomes, I guess you could say. Actually, I saw one on Reddit today. Someone built like almost like a ship. Like they built like this little ship, and they had 2 flame cannons in the front. They put like 3 rockets on the back, and and the sail and everything. They're gonna cross the bridge, across the river, right? So he turns around and he hits the rockets. They boost off. When you turn on the ancient stuff, like it turns on all of them. It's all or nothing. It's not like you turn this one on, turn this one off. So they all come on. So it propels him forward as the flame cannon starts shooting out fire. And as you're moving forward, the flames are then. So he's literally driving through fire.
Oh God!
On his own ship, and he dies. Like, not what he expected, but
there's great consequences in this game.
But yeah, it's like I guess I'm gonna keep playing it. I'm gonna obviously keep playing through it. I haven't even done like my first dungeon yet or anything, so. And I'm trying to go along the story. I'm getting a little sidetracked, obviously, because right now I'm kind of just going after the towers.
You never get sidetracked.
Yeah, I'm trying to go after the towers now to try to uncover more of the map so I can see where the heck I'm going. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. Just a forewarning to those that have never played games like this, where this is the first Zelda you're trying. This may not be the one you want to start with, unless you're kind of familiar with those type games already.
Which would you recommend starting with?
I mean, as new age.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Breath of the Wild for new age, but I mean, depending on how far back you want to go, like Twilight Princess is really neat. Ocarina of Time obviously is my favorite. Or if you didn't know that, it is.
And then, FYI, it's my fave.
and Majora's Mask is up there for me too, because again, it was like Breath of the Wild and now Tears of the Kingdom. It was a same map kind of world, same engine into this new game, which brought in new concepts and like the whole concept of time. Like he was saying, like in Majora's Mask, like you have literally 3 days to try to solve this mystery. And if you don't, you die and the game starts over. And you have like 3 days to do this. And there's a certain path of people you talk to, items that happen, and events that happen that you have to do to be able to get to that point where you can actually turn back time. To go back before all this is broken, But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick, I would say, new gen as far as graphics and stuff, like obviously Breath of the Wild, and it's more open, sandbox, open world. But if you want to go back a little further, like Twilight Princess is really good. It's more on the rails type game where you're going to be kind of going through the story as it kind of pushes you. There's some areas that are bigger, like you feel like you're kind of wandering, but not really.
Wow.
And then Ocarina of Time or A Link to the Past on SNES or Link's Awakening, I guess, on Game Boy. And then yeah,
or if you like the concept of the physicky stuff and want something on PC and you're less concerned about story or anything, Scrap Mechanic is very much along that, where you like put different pieces together and you decide which way to spin the wheels. And
don't get me started on that game. That was probably one of the few games I've refunded. Yeah, that
and it can get quite complex.
Have you played it, Brian?
I have seen a lot of people play it.
Yeah, it's very janky, and I played this probably.
Oh yeah, actually, I think I have played a little bit
6 months ago. But like, it's not janky in a good way. Like Valheim was janky in a good way. This is janky in a bad way. Like it doesn't explain anything to you. Trying to even get a vehicle to stay up, to even stay flat. Like to get a vehicle just to stay flat with wheels, like it would just do this like the whole time. Like you couldn't even do anything. Like it was bad. Jeez. It was bad enough to where me and the person I was playing with, we both refunded the game because we were like, this is just not it. Like it sucked.
I've seen other people just go through crazy intense challenges where they have to lift part of it up and they have to go through the slotted area. And then they have to bring it down and go through another slotted area, all while the wheels are doing something different below. And they were able to like it would because they can get to be extremely complex puzzles to try to figure out how to like move a sphere through with your vehicle. You got to create a vehicle now, pick the sphere up, and then be able to move it to different levels and be able to fit through these narrow areas. The little slotted areas where the sphere's got to go above and the rest of the vehicle goes below. So, yeah, it's a complex physics-based game. That's for sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, definitely give it a listen or a playthrough, I guess you could say. It is one of the first like $70 games, which is interesting, especially now that all we get is a box with a cartridge and there's no booklet or poster or
tiny
anything.
Cartridge. Yeah, it used to be fun. It used to have a booklet, a whole bunch of shit in it.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much makes you appreciate games like Tunic, where they add in the book just because, like, nostalgia
into the game. Oh yeah,
they don't even have that anymore. So,
okay, so
give it a play.
I have a question from the audience. Have you tasted the cartridge yet?
Have you blown on the cartridge yet?
No, to both of those.
Have you tasted the cartridge yet?
No, why would I have tasted it?
I
thought you knew that. Didn't you know that about Switch cartridges?
No.
They put a taste in them. Not like this one's strawberry and this one's apple and this one's cherry. No, nothing like that. They literally put a taste in them so that kids don't put them in their mouth.
Oh my God. Do it right now. Oh shit.
There it is.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it was Switch.
What am I looking to?
Oh my God. This is going to be the biggest fucking.
The more plasticky bit, not the. Or maybe they stopped doing it.
Oh my God. You totally just got punked.
I don't taste anything.
I
Brian just got you to taste a cartridge.
No, like when they first released it, they put like this extreme like bitter in it.
Yeah.
So that kids wouldn't like put it in their mouths.
Oh my God.
Maybe he didn't lick it enough. I don't know, but Kelly, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I guess we learned a lot of things today. So anyway, if you want to pick up Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, it's out since May 12th. $70. You can get it from the Nintendo eStore, or you can just buy it physically. Highly recommend. But anyway,
so far.
So that's all the time we have for today. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us and talking about Tears of the Kingdom. If you liked the video, slap a comment down below. If you're listening, we appreciate it. Make sure to leave a review on Apple or something. Maybe that'll help us out. But anyway, check out patreon.com/sasgaming and or
/gaming
www.sasgaming.com for more information. All right. Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much for watching or listening. And we'll talk to you soon. See you.
Good night.